Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us today for In a Cocoon with, curated by Mrinalini and Sneha Ullal, that's me, and in association with Cocoon Fine Drugs. Just a few announcements before we actually start. I know that this is a Friday evening, so we're going to keep this as interactive, as seamless, and as sailing as possible. In order to ensure that, we would love for you to, of course, ensure that you keep your cameras off and your microphones off. However, if you have any questions for our speaker today, please feel free to leave them in the chat and we'll get Priyanka to answer them for you. Yeah, so I think while we have more people trickling in, we should start. Yes, so welcome to In a Cocoon with. This is a really special series that we have curated where we'll be inviting noted experts to join us in a cocoon and get them to divulge their unique processes and their unique approaches towards thoughtful design. This has been initiated by Cocoon Fine Rugs, and the series hopes to deep dive into themes relevant to our creative thinking and practice. The brand takes pride in innovating, providing platforms for such stalwarts, as well as emerging talent to share their journeys and their experiences with the larger design community. We actually did two sessions earlier before this. One was with Simone Aurora and with Iram Sultan. In case you missed these sessions, you can access them on the brand's Facebook page. We will be happy to share the link in the chat box very soon. Mrinalini, a little bit about Mrinalini and me. Mrinalini is an architect by training. She has practiced architecture and lighting design, and she's also taught at university, research historical narratives too. Having been the founding editor of Mondo Arc and Stir, her curiosities now lie in questioning normative mechanisms in the creative community, usually through written and curatorial practices. Whereas me, I'm a creative writer by training. I'm an educator and curator of storytelling experiences. And I've worked with a lot of brands in the past, including Godrej Properties, Elle Decor, Exchange for Media, to name a few. Although my focus currently lies in brand and marketing communications. Yeah, so that's a little bit about us as curators. Without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Mrinalini. Hi, Mrinalini.
Hi, Sneha.
And she's going to introduce the speaker as well as the session with us today. Yes, Mrinalini.
Thank you so much, Sneha. We are very, very excited for our third session with for In the Cocoon with, and we've got a very special guest today. The title for our session today is Creating and Curating Spaces to Make Them Our Own. We all try to make our space our own, and we do this in different ways through colors, layouts, and a selection of artifacts and things like art, antiquities, heirlooms, but even like quirky things and fun things and eclectic pieces. And each of these pieces tell a story. So to help us understand how to tell our stories and how spaces can be personalized, we have with us none other than Priyanka Mehra. A very, very warm welcome, Priyanka, and thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So quick introduction to Priyanka, not that she needs much, but I'm still going to do this. She is the head of PS Design, which is an award-winning architecture and interior design studio based in India and the UAE. They work largely across residential and commercial sectors with a focus on luxury villas, high-end residences, boutique offices, as well as hospitality projects. Priyanka's vision is driven by design that is classically influenced, yet contemporary in its intent, with high attention to detail and creative expression. And we're going to see some of that today when Priyanka shows her work and talks to us about what she does and why she does it. So she will be sharing her insights, tips, and tricks for how we can personalize our space and make it our own. So Priyanka, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mrinalini, and it's just great to be here interacting with you, of course. So I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Yeah.
So, the way I would like to start is that I do truly believe that design is a collaborative effort. It's not just me as an architect who designs a space alone. I always feel that my everything that I do is an ode to my clients, and I always feel that as a practice, me and Piyush both, we never design spaces which have any distinct style or any distinct character to them. We always design for the people. We always see the site context, we always take care that the clients are, um, uh, they are very happy in the space that they're living in. It shouldn't be that they are living in a space that I would like to live in. So for me, that is very, very essential.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so starting, I'm a big fan of need purpose, and I truly believe in what you always say, is that your home should tell the story of who you are and should be a collection of what you love. So I've got clients who've been working with me now for, like, I've been in the industry for close to 20 years, and there've been clients whose house I designed maybe 10 years back, and they've come back to me. And there are pieces that we've used and reused, in all the projects. If they had something, and I've tried to make that a part of their story all the time.
Yeah.
So this is one of the projects that we recently finished, and why I started with this is because she's one of my favorite clients, and she's so much in tune with what I believe of curating a house, and I love color personally. I think life devoid of color is just completely useless. It's like living a life without love. And with her, I always believe that the best projects are the ones which the client has a strong voice, and there's a distinctive point of view that they have. With her, she was very clear that she wanted a space which has a lot of layers, which has a lot of colors, which has things that she's collected over the years. And that's what we did. So whatever she had in the past, whatever we worked with her in the past, and obviously there's always new things which are coming in, and that's what we did here. And so the whole point of any design process is always how you bring that story to to your space. How do you start telling your own story that, okay, this is my space, this is how I live, and this is how I like to see things on an everyday basis. And which is why each of my projects will have their own identity, and going forward, that's what you'll see. So one of the first important things that I always pay attention to is in a project is about layering. So it's not only what you see here is not just layering of the materials, it's also the textures, it's also the colors, it's also how I've brought in a whole lot of colors, and you'll see a lot of colors. If I show you a whole picture of the space, there's orange, there's green, there's blue, and everything is tied up together, very beautifully. Going forward to something like this, which is
Priyanka,
sorry,
if I can interrupt you for a second, I think I just want to emphasize the point that you just made, that a lot of people get worried and get scared about putting too much color in a space and putting too many elements in a space. But I think it's an important point to mention over here that you don't have to be scared, because there are people who like color and who like to put elements, but there's this thing about, oh, is it too much or is it getting too kitsch, right? So there is a way of doing it where it can still form its own semblance and it can still read as a space together. And it's very refreshing to hear an architect talk about color and bright colors at that.
Yeah. So I think honestly, if you'll ask me, there can never be enough color in any room. Like if for me, I would use every single crayon, every single in the crayon box, the color in the crayon box to use in a space. Obviously, people are really scared. They just think that, oh, how is it going to look a couple of years down the line? Will I get bored of it? I just think it's about having a beautiful mix. It's about the balance. It's not only about having quiet walls and having bold accessories. I think that's something that's for me, it's very cliche. I think color on the walls is great, color on the couch is great, color on the rugs is also great, but it's just that how you need to balance it out. Some people do think that it's cluttered. So we always, like I said, it's to each individual. Has their own choices. Some people are very okay with it, and some people are not. For me, I think that balance is very, very important. Whether the balance is in color or it's neutral versus color.
Sure.
So that as long as you achieve it, I don't think there is anything to be scared of. So yeah. So like going forward, if I show you the next image now, this is completely opposite of what I showed earlier. This is absolutely neutral. So here, what we did really was, so this was a holiday home, like a retirement home rather, for a client that we finished, and he was an elderly gentleman, and he was very, very adamant on, he wanted a serene space where he can just go and relax after his retirement. And that's why what we really did was just, we used two materials throughout the house. We just used one single wood and we used one single stone everywhere in the house. And then we again layered it, but this time the layering was more neutral. So you'll see a lot of textures, you'll see more cooler colors, you'll see greens, and you'll maybe see a little bit of blue here and there, but no brighter colors. So you'll not see like a bright pink or a red or yellows, or those colors you'll not see, but you'll see cooler and soothing colors. The color of the sky is what we brought it in. So there are other spaces of this project that I'll show you going ahead, wherein we took inspiration from the sky, and that's the color we bought in one area. Of course, the greens reflect everywhere. If you see in this particular image also, if you see the texture of the rug, because again, we wanted to keep it neutral, but yet have that texture, that layering in the whole space, which is why we bought in this beautiful rug that we put in here. Also, what I feel is that is important is, though the space is extremely modern, you'll always find certain elements of certain vintage pieces in all my projects, no matter how modern the space becomes. I think that juxtaposition of the old and the new, of a little bit of raw and a little bit of modernity is just so important to weave a beautiful space. I can't just have, for me, an extremely modern space is it's too cold. But I mean, again, I think design is very subjective, and for me, it's just something that I will never be able to live with. I will always have a mix of the right mix of whether it's just color or texture, whether it's the old or the new. I think the mix is very, very, very important.
So Priyanka, do you feel like, what is the role of the client in this entire equation? Like, you started by saying that, you collaborate a lot with your clients. And of course, especially when you're doing residences, it's for them to really, it's for you to showcase their personality. But how much of a conversation do you have, or how much of a choice do they have in, picking colors, or not just colors, but like picking the elements in their space?
See, Mrinali, I think an informed client is really always a better client. And today with the advent of social media and everything, I think every client is always, they always know what they want.
Hyper aware.
Yeah. So I always start by asking my client that how they want to feel in their house. What is the kind of story they want their house to tell, and it's about when you walk into a house, how you want the house to feel to you. So that's the first thing that I ask my clients, and I think it's very, very important. Being a good listener in our line of work, I meet with the client, I understand what their goals are. If they have a vision, if they have a thought process, whether they want the house to be to show their identity, or they want the house, or in a particular manner. A lot of people just come to me, say, no, okay, I went through a project and this is what I like. I still encourage them that there has to be something that you're passionate about. We all live on passion, and most of the projects I would try and incorporate something which just when the client walks into his house at the end of the the entire process, he should feel, yes, this is my space, this is what I feel comfortable in. I remember we did a house for a client who's also now a very dear friend. House that he was living in was really a 70s sepia movie. It was all beiges and browns, and I walked into his house. I said, "How are you even living here?" And he's a young
Wow.
fellow, and now if you see his house, it's just the complete opposite. And he says, "This is what was hidden inside me, and you brought it out so well." That so for me, interacting with the client is very, very important. I do a lot of dinners with them. I'll go out with them. I'll spend time with the families. I spend time in their houses. I force myself then on and said, no, you invite me for dinner. I want to understand how you all live, because unless I know who I'm designing for, I'll never be able to design.
So unless you don't understand their personality, you'll never be able to personalize it for them.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
So we
interesting.
bring in a lot of their personal things also,
Hmm.
or things that they're passionate about, but they haven't been able to put it across. So
Sure.
those are the sort of things that we really try and bring it. So yes, it's very, very important for me. But yes, once I understand it, then I tell them, now you take a back seat. Now I'm not going to listen to you. So
That's equally important.
yeah, that's very important, because sometimes they do get over emotional about it, and
Yeah,
then you have to just stop them. Okay, listen, now we are done. Now I don't need your advice anymore.
that's
So
true.
yeah, but no disrespect to anybody. I think me and Piyush, so we're not from Bombay, and we our practice is based out of Bombay, and I think our clients are our closest friends. They're like family to us, and I can say that for over 90% of my clients. So they know how I am. So that's why they become,
Yeah.
they do understand. They are a part of that collaborative process. Mm,
Excellent.
yeah. So going forward, so this is a part of the same space. Now, that's what I was saying when I was talking about this holiday home, wherein if you can see, it's again very, very neutral. But we bought the if you can see, the blues in the carpet is a reflection of the sky which is there, and there is a huge window right opposite the sofa where. And you're sitting on the sofa, you see the blue, and then you see the greens, and it just sort of everything sort of brings in so that we thought was very personal to the client, because his brief to us was that I want a very serene space where the outdoors become indoors. And that's
Yeah.
what we try to achieve in this house with bigger windows and just using two materials. And yes, again, for me, like I said, layering of objects and layering of artifacts and personal things is extremely, extremely important. Um, So this particular project is about the Sapia client that I was talking about, and he was a huge art collector. He had some beautiful art, and I think he had sort of hidden it all away. And when we were curating the art for the house, I said, okay, I proposed something, and he said, "I'm not sure. I want some sort of deity here." He wanted it because he was a Jain. He said, let's put
Okay.
Mahavir Swami picture. And I said,
Uh,
what's your thought process? Do you just want to make it like, it's not a temple, it's your
hmm.
house. Do you want it more representational, or do you want it, uh, more religious? And he said, no, representation is okay. So what we did was we got in touch with this French artist who does Indian gods, and the
Okay.
beautiful renderings, the hand painted renderings of Indian gods that we got these from. And then we frame them and we put them on the entry foyer. And everyone who walks in they'll just first come and stop and just see what is it. And he was obviously very happy with the result, because then we layered it with, prints. We did that with inlay console, and then we had these gorgeous ornaments from Saratahanda sitting there. So, the whole point, uh, I, while he told me that he wanted a representation of God at the entry, how did I interpret it and put it across is what my, thought process was. Um, this is another picture of one of the projects. Now, you see, I mean, you can clearly see that I love accessorizing. I just think that, and believe me, I think 90% of the accessories what you see here are the client's own, because we had worked with her in the past.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and she did have all of these. She just didn't know where to put it. So we found a place for each one of them. Of course, there was some customization that we did in terms of accessories also, but what you'll see is that you'll see the red and blue running all throughout, and uh, there are the wallpaper sort of ties it up. The rug ties it up somewhere where there's a lot of color. We try to neutralize it with a black and white rug. Where there's a lot of color, we added yet another more color to tie it all up. And that's for me is a beautiful process, putting it all together. We obviously, we make a visual board before we go ahead. Honestly, I don't like doing things. I hate them. I think they just kill the whole process. But what I really love is putting up boards together. So bringing fabrics together, bringing accessories, or the colors of the accessories together, and then just sort of putting them all to see how it will come out to be. And that is one of my favorite processes in the whole scheme. I also try and do try building a story about things. So this the Thayam head that you see, that's an antique head that we just found, and we thought this is great. Now, how do we build a story around this? And my client also loved it, and he said, okay, let's make this the focal point of the whole space. So we added it on completely neutral background. We textured that background. And then again, we started layering. We layered with more neutrals and a bit of color here and a bit of color there. And for me, the result was really something that he enjoys every day, because he knows that this piece that he picked up was his own. And the whole story, and everybody who walks in his own is like, oh, where did you pick this up, and how did you find it, and why this? So you always have things to talk about, and that's what people love. Why would somebody come to your home and just sit in a corner? And where the conversations have to start. So for us, that is extremely.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see your different approaches in different projects. Like, you're layering in some places, you're using one element as a focal point in others. In some cases, you've got color. In some cases, you're looking at neutral palettes. So there are different approaches to doing, at the end of the day, the objective is to personalize the space, but there's so many different approaches of doing the same thing.
Yeah. So this is another bedroom, and again, if you see what we work, this is of course much quieter in the sense you'll see the textures and the layers again, but the whole space is much quieter. Like, so there's little artwork which sits nicely behind the bed, and that was our focal point here. We didn't want anything else to sort of overtake the whole space, but we did add a table lamp on one side and a wall light on the other side, and then again texturing and layering, and this was all done before we actually started the work on site, because we knew that this is how we wanted the space to look like at the end of the day. Now, in this particular case, the client had a passion for flying. So he was very fond of flying. Obviously, you can't put an airplane or a picture of an airplane, which becomes so obvious. So again, we took it to representation purpose, and we got him this piece from wood feather. And it's engraved, so it's very personal to him. So again, when I talk about personalization and making the space his own, that's the whole point, that he remembers it every single time he looks at it. That okay, this is my space, and I have a story to tell about this and how I got it. This is another image of the earlier bedroom also. I don't know if you can see on the left hand side, that's the bed which you see there. So again, this guy was very fond of reading, and he said, I want a big library. And believe me, this is just 50% of his books. I mean, obviously you style a lot for the shoot, but that was his passion. And he said, I want a big library somewhere in the house. And I said, I'm not doing a wooden library. You lived with wood for long. enough, let me do some color. And thankfully, he gave me the liberty. He trusted me, and I painted this whole thing green. And he walks in one day. Of course, seeing it on a small sample, and then seeing this 10 feet by 10 feet wall of green, and suddenly he was like, "What have you done?" I said, "Don't you love it?" He said, "Yeah, I love it, but that's just too much color for me. I've never lived with so much color." But I think at the end of the day, he was very happy because he did realize that what was missing in his life is color. So I think that it's always styled like this. And whenever I go to his home, it's so he keeps it really nicely, and he loves it, and he keeps on changing the books because he's got so many. And then there are personal things that were there which he already had, and some of it which we sort of brought in depending on the size of the shelf. So yeah.
And it's lovely that the color's not like color doesn't have to be jarring and doesn't have to stand out so
Exactly.
much. That,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It
And
will be
somehow
within the same palette.
yeah. So in this particular room, they balance out such a big whole wall of color with everything neutral. So we did everything neutral.
Yeah.
Because this was really a big wall for anybody to film as you enter the room. So we had to sort of balance it out. And it's a bedroom, it's not a living room, it's not really a library. So for us, it was very important that he's also at peace in his bedroom, which is the first purpose of making bedroom, honestly. So this is a picture where what I want to talk about is, again, this is a very colorful house, and but we've often little vintage pieces, like that. This piece you see here. We got it actually from Chor Bazaar, and I think even in a modern home, bringing in a bit of that little vintage just sorts of tones it down, and it makes it a little timeless. I wouldn't say completely timeless, but something that you can still enjoy over a longer time, and that has always been my purpose. Some more examples of things here that we got these Naga panels that you see, sort of on the right, extremely modern house, which is filled with Italian furniture and Italian sofas and marble and wallpaper and really wooden ceilings and all. But yes, there's that one piece which you sort of pay attention to. I'll show you another view of the same space, and if you see that huge column which is just standing there. So it just sort of balances out, and for me that balance is so important. It's people are like, "Oh, you bring in vintage," it sort of kills the whole vibe, just makes it very eclectic. I think certain things, if it's a nice mix, it always sort of helps. That's what I Also, when I was talking to you about the raw with the refined, now this is actually an office that we've done for one of our clients, and what you see that driftwood piece there, and then you see it with all that art, and you see it with the space which is completely finished in wood, and that's a very refined wood that we finished it in. So that that juxtaposition of both these elements together for us, that just it forms the whole space and ties up the whole space very beautifully. It's not just just because it's an office, it needs to be extremely modern. And this is something that, again, when I talk about collaboration, my client actually had this because he picked it up from a beach in I think Juhu or somewhere in Bombay, or maybe one of the he just picked it up. I mean, he's obviously a very resourceful guy. And he said, "Listen, I have this huge fruit piece and I want to use it somewhere." I said, "Fine, let's just bring it in and just put it in the middle of the whole space." And he was like, "Are you sure?" And you don't know how we brought it in because it was really so big. But once we put it there, and everybody again who walks into the office just absolutely loves it. They'll go and touch it and they'll say, "Wow, what is this?" It's all about building stories and talking about stories. And that's what the spaces are, and that's why you sort of design them.
And it's exciting because you're using your clients' own pieces, right? Whether they're books, whether they're artifacts like this, you're using their own pieces to personalize it for them. So it feels special for them.
Yes, yes. So for me, I think it's very important. A piece of them is there in that space. I mean, they're living there, they're using it, yes, but when you see it in visual, and a lot of people who walk into these houses, they'll always say, oh my God, this house is so huge. Like this is what they will tell the clients.
Yeah.
And and then I'll always get a message, this one said this, and I feel very happy because that was my thought process when I started, and this is what I managed to achieve.
Hmm.
Now this was a client who's actually from Goa and who's living in Bombay for many years. And his brief to me was that um, I want to feel at home. Like my heart is in Goa, but I live in Bombay because
Hmm.
I don't have an option. But I want to feel at home. And um, so we have these, the cement tiles from Goa. We have we had a lot of the colors, the textures again bringing in, and again he was very fond of books. We didn't have a space. This was a very small home, honestly. So if you can see in the top, we did a bookshelf there, which was hung on the ceiling, and then there were bookshelves all throughout the house. And he had this old headboard.
Hmm.
Which we said, he was like, let me throw it. I said, no, let's not throw it. Let's just put it up. And he said, are you crazy? I said, no, let's put it up. And we made it like an artwork, and he absolutely loved it. He's like, listen, this is the
Wow.
best, that, it didn't cost us anything, but the whole point was that he was so happy about it. Uh, and of course, artifacts, some of them which we brought in, and some of them which he already had. The rugs he already had. So we sort of layered the rugs. We didn't want to do. He has small children, so he's like, listen, every day I just hold my rugs because I need to clean the whole space. So we were like, okay, let's just layer them. Let's just bring in rugs which are um, easily foldable, or you can work with them.
Yeah.
That was the whole thought. Uh, and then this is another space, picture of the same space. He was also very fond of drinking. And he said, okay, I'm building a bar. I said, okay, how do we personalize the bar? So what we did was, now each of these are copper tiles. And if you see, they're all engraved with these quotes and texts. And these are the quotes and texts that he truly believes in. So, so each of these, we sort of, we put it all together, we customize it to the size, and we said, okay. Um, and he gave us these. He said, I want all this on my bar. And then, in the end result, he just absolutely loved it. He said, listen, this is exactly what I wanted. This is a piece of me right there.
Hmm.
So, those are the things that we sort of curate the space to, make it client's own, so that they feel that it's their own space. Again, this is more like a gallery wall. Lots of personal artifacts of some things that we picked up during the process of the design. Things that some of the things that the client had her own. Uh, um, the unit that you see on the right is actually a bar, and that's an old shutter that we picked up from Chor Bazaar, and then we sort of converted it into a full scale bar. It opens up and it's got some language inside. So, so yeah, so these are the things that we've sort of done for the client to make it, for them to make it more personal. This is another office space, which again, it was a smaller space, and we didn't want it to be looking absolutely dead. So we did this sort of a cocoon where somebody can, people can just sort of go and sit, and it didn't have to be a typical chair or a bench for them to walk into the office and sit in. And again, it's something that people come and sit for a very long time. And now we get complaints that people don't want to move on to there. So, but again, personalizing spaces for people's comfort is another thing that we feel is very important.
We all love a cocoon, don't we?
Yeah. So this is now something this is already again, it was a smaller house, but we had this huge sort of shape of sofa, and we had very geometric tiles, and we said, how do we break this space? So then we started adding a little bit of organic. So the table, which is very organic, is what we added. The rug was an organic shape that we added. The art was very personal to the client again. We commissioned it for this particular wall during the process. And, um, so that again, things that the client feels connected to, the person using the space feels connected to. That was very, actually, the whole idea was, here I was talking, I wanted to talk about how we customize the rug. So this is a site we did in Indore, and there's a river which goes in the middle of the Indore. We just sort of mapped out that river, and you see that orange line, and that's how we customize the rug.
Oh,
and
wow.
So it's a whole map, and the river is going through it, and then we just sort of made it a part of the whole space. Similarly, in this one, what you actually see on the rug is these are fingerprints. So, there are 4 positive attributes to any human being, or in general human being. There are 4 positive and 4 negative attributes, and all of us have, either we are all positive or we are negative or we are a mix. So we picked up the positive attributes of the fingerprints, and then we sort of mapped it out on this rug, and that's how the whole space, this rug was designed. So it's extremely, and this is the client's own fingerprint. So the point is, like, sometimes we go into that level of personalization so that the client knows that this is how my space is, and how I feel that I connect to it.
And I think rugs become a very interesting tool to tie spaces together, right?
They do, they do. Yeah.
They literally tie spaces together by placing furniture on them and to actually like map out areas. But also in terms of like you mentioned, there's so many options now to customize them and make them bespoke. And I know Smriti wants to talk about that a little bit with you as well. But it's great to see that you're doing stuff like this.
Yeah, so I just think of the rug is an amazing vehicle for texture and pattern. It just brings out, it can bring out so much, and say so much more than just being a piece lying there. I think it's really, it can turn out into an incredible piece of art if you want it to be. Of course, we have beautiful artisans you say there are a lot of collaborative rugs that are coming out. So yeah. Also, when I talk about layering, I always say that a lot of clients, budget issues, and that is something that we also love to address. So what we do is let's layer. You can always layer. So if you want to use a beautiful hand-mounted rug or a particular dari or a vintage rug, you don't have to do the whole space. Although, like, if you ask me, the bigger the better. It's always like that. But like in this case, what we actually did was that we layered it with a jute rug below, and then we put a smaller piece on top of it. So we still have that form, and we still have that the colors and the textures, along with other personalizations that are there. I mean, that's pretty much what I would like to say. I don't know.
No, this has been so exciting, Priyanka. It's really interesting to see, like I mentioned earlier as well, that personalizing a space is, I think sometimes we get stuck because we feel that we don't understand the client, but that is step 1, is to really understand the client and what you said, right? Like spend time with them, get to know them. And then put yourself in their shoes to see what they want and how you can interpret their briefs. And what's been really exciting is to see how you've used different elements to personalize spaces, whether it's a book, but you interpret it in a different way, a collection of books, or it could be a collection of art, or it could be rugs. And I love how you talked about rugs, because I know that Cocoon is doing this. They're doing a lot of bespoke rugs for people, for clients. And I'm actually going to bring in Smriti at this point, because she has an interesting conversation to have with you. And we've actually also pulled out some rugs that you've selected and want to talk about that. So I'm not going to take much longer, but I'm going to just bring in Smriti. Smriti Chaudhary is the co-owner and marketing director of Cocoon Fine Drugs. And yeah, I think she'll be the best person to have this conversation with you. But thank you, Priyanka, for that presentation.
Hi, everybody. I absolutely love some of the homes, Priyanka, that you've just taken us through, especially, some of the color balances that you spoke about initially, how you've balanced. I saw like suddenly like a bright color wall, and then, it's been balanced with like your light grays. So, it kind of gave that pop of color in a house and, that happy feeling, because I know when we design drugs, it's pretty much the same. It's all about balancing colors, and harmonizing them. Yeah,
I'm a big advocate for colors, and I just think that how can anybody live without color? I think it's just so important to have them in their lives. So.
Yes. But at the same time, you have to understand what also other people require, because everybody has different tastes and preferences, and you have to keep everything in mind, when you actually design something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, I do see using a lot of rugs and a lot of layering happening in some of the homes that you've done. So what would be your personal choice, preferences of rugs? Like, would you, your style is more contemporary or traditional using of rugs?
Honestly, I think it depends on the space. I mean, while I'm all hearts for vintage all the time. Vintage kilns and the Kashmiri rugs and a lot of the traditional rugs that we have. But sometimes if the space is really very traditional, or if it's more how do you say classical, then I don't mind bringing in a modern rug also, just to break
away the style.
Yeah. So I just think so. I always like to mix up things. I just don't think that you'll never find any house design by me which is just one particular style. It will always be a mix, and that's how I like to do it.
I did see that. I saw like very design directions in all the homes that you just showed me. Yeah.
So for me, it's both. Both can work.
In fact, that's our brand ethos as well. Like, we when we started designing, we kept in mind that no two homes should have the same rugs. So you will always find different rugs at the store. No two homes will have the same Cocoon rug. So
that's amazing. Yeah, I think that's something that I also believe in very well.
Yeah. And do you think that the material choices affect, when people come to, shop rugs? Do you think they consider the material while buying, or, the process, like, the hand knotted tufting of rugs? Do you think that plays a role?
So it does to a large extent, but I think from what my understanding is, a hand knotted rug is always preferable, maintenance wise, and I mean, of course, clients have their choices, the cost controls and all that they're supposed to do. But yes, a lot of people do prefer hand knotted rugs. They do prefer something that feels smoother to the feel.
Yeah.
A lot of people
last longer as well, and
last longer as well.
And long generations.
Yes.
Tufted drugs which last you for about 2 years or so.
Yeah, and I just also think that the material, as far as obviously, client people do have their own preferences. A lot of people do prefer just silk rugs, sorts of.
Right. Yeah, they feel amazing on the feet. Yes.
Yes. So yes, it does play a big role.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think it's all about the colors and how it is sitting in my sight, and what's sometimes I may not look at a hand knotted essentially.
Right.
I may look at the curry also. I may look at jute rug also. So it depends on what is working in one particular space.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, the shaped rugs are really trending right now. Like, we see a lot of shapes getting used in different corners of the house. What are your thoughts on
which is what I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to that image which I had shown earlier, because I just think in this particular house, because everything is very geometric, so we sort of broke it with a shaped rug, and I think it's again something which looks cool. I think the younger generation, this was of course for a very young young couple, and they absolutely love it. They all absolutely enjoy,
Right.
you know, different shaped rugs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I personally, they are my favorites as well, and I love placing them in different corners of their homes. With just certain small elements that just highlight the rug. Yeah. Mhm. And what is some of the most unusual way that you've used a rug? Um,
We did. We upholstered a chair once with one of the guys. It didn't turn out. It didn't look beautiful, but honestly, people could not sit on it, and I'll be very honest about it. So eventually, it just became a show chair. But I think so the next time I decided to do that, probably you should be using a hand knotted rug instead of instead of a dari. I think that's one thing that I experimented with that. And then we've often used it as a tapestry, like a hanging wall hanging, especially the vintage ones. You just hang them to a wall. I think they look absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah, we've started using them a lot of wall art as well, because especially the different shapes that we've created. A lot of times people don't want to invest in a painting, and they're like, okay, let's hang the rug on the wall, so it looks interesting in homes as well. Yeah. And any buying trends that have caught your eye over the years?
Honestly, I don't believe in trends. I'm more about
Classic
using things, and
yeah,
it has to be, a rug. I know I always advise my clients, it's an investment. Don't look at it as just another piece which is lying in the house. Look at it as an investment.
Of course.
So something that you can use even a couple of years later. You can take it to a new home. When you do your home, you can build your story around it. I think that is what is important.
Correct. Yeah. So just to have some fun, we've just put together a few rug selections for you, and we would like to know from you that which one would you like to use for your project, or which one would you like to take home for yourself?
Sure. So can I stop the share now?
Yeah, Sabiha, can you share the rugs we've put together? Yeah. So yeah, just quickly. So yeah, which one do you think you would like to use in your next project, and why?
I think I love the Farsh one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the JJ Wallabh collection.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been yeah.
So I think the colors again, because it's so colorful, and I just love it. I think it also balances out the black and white with the blues and the red so beautifully.
Right.
And I could build up a whole story around it.
Yeah.
The Amara is something that I would probably use in a very color intensive space, because then black and white sort of balances out the whole palette very nicely. Black and white is always a favorite. You just simply use it to add color, texture, or just bring in that bit of neutrality. So that's really
right.
Great. I think the blue.
Yeah, the interesting part about Amara is that it's completely undyed and natural. We've absolutely used no dyes. We've kept natural wool itself. So that's the beauty of the rug, like no artificial dyes have been used. Absolutely, so it looks stunning when you see it in person. Yeah.
And I think I love the blueprint also. Also, it's one of my very close friends. I think Rajiv and I have designed it. So obviously, I'm going to be biased towards them always. I think the way they've interpreted the blueprint on the rug is so beautiful. It's really, really amazing. And that's why I'm just slightly biased towards it. And I think Talvera is also classical, something which is, it still has that bit of color, but it sort of brings the vintage quality to any space. And I think that's what really nice. Yeah.
And which piece do you think you would associate with another designer, like Indian or international?
Like out of these?
Yeah, out of these. Yeah. Any of you think it resonates, because a lot of these have been inspired by like mine and Aisha's personal overseas travels. So yeah, if you think of they resonate with any designer?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I know the pieces, so I know that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so I
yeah.
wouldn't,
Right. Yeah,
I wouldn't really associate them with. I mean, of
of course.
course, like I said, Rajiv and Ekta design.
Right, I know. So that's
So
very,
yeah. So I can't think of anybody else, but their personality sort of coming.
of course. Yeah. Absolutely. The collection was stunning. Yeah. But yeah, I think thank you, Priyanka, so much for doing this for us. It was
Thank you.
great
It's been
learnings
my
as
pleasure.
well, taking us through. And I really enjoyed seeing some of the good antiques also being placed in homes. And Cocoon has always stood for design innovation, empowering our artisans who weave their magic. These creations are available across all our stores in Mumbai, Kolkata, Jaipur, and Bangalore. And we're going to start Hyderabad next month very soon. So we're very excited about that. So if you do wish to shop, please visit our website as well. You can shop online or also, visit any of our stores as well. And yeah, thank you, Mrinalini. Thank you, Sneha, for putting this together for us. And yeah, we look forward to creating a bigger co-learning platform together.
Thank you, Mrinalini. Thank you, Sneha, for having me. It was such a pleasure. Cross my thoughts. I don't know how nice or what nice they were, but it's always nice to speak to
Presentation
friends.
was fabulous, Priyanka. Thank you so much. It was very insightful, and I'm sure the audience has taken a lot away from here today. So thank you for sparing your time on a Friday evening. We know where you are. It's not easy.
Thanks so much,
All right.
Priyanka. Speaking on
Thank
behalf of the audience, I've learned so much about your process today. I love the fact that you have such a close-knit relationship with your clients. I think that was quite an eye-opener for me personally. So thanks for sharing that,
Thank you.
and
Thank you,
beautiful
Sneha.
projects. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We look
Thanks
forward
everyone
to
for joining.
more sessions. Yes. Thank you all. Have a great weekend ahead.
Oh, same.
Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.